A new look at the devastating flooding that struck the nation's oldest national park.
It's a story of how communities responded during one of Yellowstone's most challenging seasons.
Northern states are getting ready. Fall colors are just around the corner.
Their peak is late September to mid-October.
Looking for ways to rebuild coral reefs as climate change takes its toll.
These corals are part of a series of experiments aimed at reviving reefs threatened by warming oceans.
And what could be behind declining bee colonies?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. One day after the traditional peak of hurricane season, a system could be forming in the Atlantic. Right now, the disturbance sits off the western coast of Africa. The National Hurricane Center says it has a 30% chance of development over the next week. And if it does, we are likely still 2 weeks away from seeing any impact on the U.S. So how does hurricane season to date match up with the forecasts that were issued back in the spring? Here's meteorologist Riley Blackwell.
So far, it's been a somewhat quiet season. Our forecast called for anywhere from 19 to 25 named storms, anywhere from 7 to 11 hurricanes, and anywhere from 3 to 6 major hurricanes. But up until now, we've only had 6 named storms, 1 hurricane, and that 1 hurricane was a major hurricane. Remember, that was Category 5 Hurricane Erin just a few weeks ago. Now, in the month of September, this is where we would usually see any kind of hurricane development, mainly in the central to western Atlantic, although parts of the Caribbean and Gulf still have a fairly heightened chance of seeing hurricanes. Most of the time, hurricanes that develop off the coast of Africa in September usually tend to swerve out back into parts of the Atlantic.
It's been more than 3 years since historic flooding hit Yellowstone National Park. The deluge cut off park entrances, washed out bridges, and isolated towns that depend on tourism. A new study sheds light on how costly that disaster was. Bowen West lays out those numbers.
In June of 2022, heavy rainfall and rapid snowmelt turned parts of Yellowstone National Park into flood zones. Roads collapsed, bridges were swept away, and Montana's tourism economy took a major blow. A new study from the University of Montana's Institute for Tourism and Recreation Research finds the disaster cost gateway communities an estimated $95 million in lost visitor spending. That translated to nearly $130 million in lost economic output and more than 1,000 tourism-supported jobs gone. Survey data shows 88% of local businesses reported revenue losses, with nearly 40% calling their losses severe. Restaurants, hotels, and small shops were hit the hardest. Researchers say this study is about more than just the numbers. It's a historical record. It's a story of how communities responded during one of Yellowstone's most challenging seasons.
How do on-the-ground businesses actually get money quickly to pay the bills, right? How do you continue that cash flow going, even though you don't have visitors or customers coming in your business?
There were some challenges, especially when it came to business owners accessing relief funds. Many struggled with red tape and cash flow as tourists stopped coming.
And we often see these key people in communities that organize and do amazing work while they've lost their house.
The report also shows 1 in 3 business owners do not believe their communities are ready for the next disaster. Yellowstone rebounded in 2023 with one of the busiest years on record, bringing in more than 4 million visitors. The study says it could still take years for Montana's gateway towns to fully recover, but researchers hope its findings will help them prepare, not just for the next busy season, but for the next disaster.
And this is day 18 of the Garnet Fire burning in eastern Fresno County, California. Fire crews are working around the clock on this massive blaze. It's now burned more than 56,000 acres and is 15% contained. Crews credit cooler, humid weather for slowing the spread. There's also been some misinformation regarding the status of the region's giant sequoia trees in what's known as the McKinney Grove. Our station in Fresno spoke with officials on the ground to get an update on that situation.
So yes, the fire has reached McKinley Grove. It has burned through the understory of McKinley Grove. However, our assessment is that it was a low to moderate intensity fire, and so we're not anticipating that being something that's going to be a negative impact, I guess you could say, to the grove itself. If anything, it should be beneficial.
He says that since the fire is considered low to moderate intensity, it can actually help the sequoias because it clears away competition on the forest flood, opens the trees cones to release seeds, and prepares mineral soil for germination and also growth. Exciting fall-related news from New York State. The first fall foliage report is out from the website I Love New York for all traveling leaf peepers and fans of fall. Meteorologist Violet Skybor tells us what we can expect throughout the state this season, why leaves change colors, and the best conditions for the brightest leaves.
But when do we see peak fall foliage across New York State? Starting with the Adirondacks, their peak is late September to mid-October. The Catskills peak is early to mid-October. The Capital Region's peak is mid-October. Heading up to the 1000 Islands and Seaway region, their peak is mid to late October. And same for Central New York, also mid to late October. The Finger Lakes a bit later, from mid-October to early November, is when they usually see peak fall foliage. But why do leaves change color in the first place? Well, this happens in the fall. With shorter days, the tree's chlorophyll breaks down, leaving other chemicals that cause color changes. So the chlorophyll is what creates that green. Once that sheds away, we have xanthophyll creating yellow, carotene bringing out orange, and anthocyanin bringing out that red. And brighter colors are more likely when late summer is dry and autumn has sunny days and cool nights. But not too cool, because if it is cold enough for frost to develop, that can cause cell damage in the leaves with brown spots, early leaf drop before they even have time to change colors, or the colors themselves are muted. This also causes a tree response where the trees change color faster and the fall foliage season is shorter overall. So how does the weather affect the leaves? The pros, the best weather we want is a rainy summer, sunny fall, shorter days, warm days as well, and cool overnights. We don't want summer drought, cloudy and rain fall, strong wind, high heat, or a hard frost. And we did see a dry late summer, so that may lead to some muted colors this fall.
And honeybee colonies are continuing to decline at an alarming rate, with more than 40% gone in Washington state alone. Meteorologist Stella Sun looks into what could be causing this.
The fruit we eat and the flowers we enjoy are possible thanks to honeybees.
And honeybees overall pollinate about 40% of the food. Go and say hi to the bees.
For longtime beekeeper Quentin Giant,
I've been doing it for about 20 years, and my dad for almost 50 years he's been doing it. Oh, that's beautiful.
hanging with honeybees is sweet.
Being with the bees, honestly, it's awesome.
But lately, the buzz is being killed.
We are looking at over 60% colony losses nationally, which is a staggering high number. About 43% of Washington beekeepers lost their colonies.
There are several reasons why bees are vanishing. These include poor nutrition, parasites, pesticides, and pathogens.
It is definitely a devastating loss for beekeepers.
Wazoo researchers say it could be the interaction of these four stressors and changing weather patterns that could be causing colonies to die.
Pollination is essential for agriculture. It's a much larger economy, it's a much larger industry that beekeeping is, and so it is worrisome because they depend on us so much.
Washington is the #1 U.S. producer of apples, blueberries, onions, pears, sweet cherries, and hops, according to the state's Department of Agriculture.
When we are looking at commercial agriculture, honeybees are one of the major commercial pollinators globally, not just in the U.S. or in Washington.
The Trump administration has dissolved a working group that issued a controversial report sowing doubt on severity of climate change. Now, climate scientists are declaring this a victory. The report portrayed climate changes as potentially beneficial. The group's end can be traced to a lawsuit by the Environmental Defense Fund and Union of Concerned Scientists, alleging the group's formation violated the Federal Advisory Committee Act. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at the unique way scientists are working to rebuild reefs along the California coast, and we'll find out how a changing climate is increasing mosquito populations across the country.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a great looking day on tap in the Northeast today with seasonably mild temps. Most areas will top out in the mid to upper 70s. Normal highs for this time of year are in the low 70s. So today's a pretty good one. Here we are 8 o'clock in the morning. Temps are warming through the 50s. A very weak front will produce a few clouds mixing in during the course of the afternoon today. Now Friday, look for a lot of sunshine. We'll start in the 40s. Afternoon temps will struggle to get much above 70 degrees.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We still have some clouds lingering around, but as the afternoon rolls on, we'll likely see some improvements. By Friday, though, it'll be sunshine almost everywhere, and that will help warm things up quite a bit. Today, well, the clouds may be lingering just a bit longer. That's where it may be just a few degrees cooler, likely still getting to the 70s everywhere, but it will still be a lot warmer as we head into Friday. Again, upper 70s to low 80s across the region.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs. A hot one in Nashville at 90 degrees. Mobile, 92 compared to 80 degrees in Raleigh. A little cooler there. Charleston, 83. A high of 90 in West Palm. Looks like over the southeast we have high pressures allowing for us to get plenty of sunshine over parts of Tennessee and over parts of Georgia back towards Mississippi. But it looks like down over Florida, we're still seeing that frontal boundary stalled out. And as we see that, showers will continue to persist.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A steam fog sunrise in Ohio. Steam fog forms when colder air moves over warm water. It mixes with the warmer, moist air, cools and forms wispy fog like this. A look at localized heavy rain falling in the Reno area recently. And bows and halos. This double rainbow over Northern California. And a halo around the moon. These form when sun or moonlight is refracted by ice crystals and cirrus clouds.
In California, researchers are working on ways to help coral reefs survive, especially since climate change is making it more difficult to do so. Vanessa Paz reports.
So these are the tanks.
Inside a small and temperature-controlled room at UCSD's Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
We are increasing the temperature in these tanks.
Associate researcher Daniel and his team start their day tending to an unusual nursery.
They feed on little tiny particles.
Tanks filled with baby coral.
It's our approach to enhance the growth.
These corals are part of a series of experiments aimed at reviving reefs threatened by warming oceans.
Are they looking good?
Pollution and disease, the main drivers of coral bleaching.
Bleaching is basically a stress response. When coral gets sick, essentially, it loses the main compartment that produces energy. So it's, you can imagine like an engine. And so these are tiny microscopic algae that live inside the animal. And primarily when it gets too hot, those algae are expelled from the tissue. And so then that makes the coral weak and can lead to death.
Now, Daniel and his team have a new tool.
This liquid, especially because when you shine light on it, becomes jelly.
SnapX, a scented gel that can be painted or sprayed onto damaged reefs or even 3D printed attachments like this one, made in their lab.
We try to create an environment that the baby coral likes.
Coral larvae are picky where they settle. They look for chemical cues from healthy reefs. SnapX uses natural chemicals from crustous coralline algae to mimic those cues.
On a degraded reef or an artificial reef, you don't have these chemical signals, or you have less of those, right? You might have signals that come from competitive algae that actually deters the coral larvae from settling. So you get an individual animal from the entire colony.
In lab and field tests, coral treated with SnapX attracted 20 times more larvae than untreated surfaces. It works immediately and lasts up to a month.
We've studied the main reef-building corals in Hawaii and showed that these scents work for this coral. But we have more work to do.
Daniel and his team also developed Coral Guard
to enhance the survivorship of the recruits.
It's a protective coating that blocks harmful competitors from growing over new coral. And they've created a new particle that could reduce coral bleaching by lowering toxic stress chemicals inside the coral. And the best part, all of it, including SnapX, is made with natural biomaterials, essentially taking from nature to give back to nature.
The causes of reef degradation are man-made. So why shouldn't the solutions be man-made as well? For anyone that has been diving on a reef, you know the beauty. There's a high aesthetic value. Coral reefs are hotspots of biodiversity. About 1/4 of all marine life of biodiversity is hosted in coral reefs. And at the same time, they are also a powerhouse in terms of the ecosystem goods and services they provide.
And reefs may be on decline in California, but mosquito populations are growing, and it's increasing the risk of illness for people. Jake Schreiner has more.
Mosquito numbers are on the rise in Kern County due to the cooler fall temperatures.
So until it gets, really cold, as long as it's keeping this, cool mornings, warm afternoon kind of temperatures, we're going to see increased mosquito activity.
This uptick in mosquitoes can lead to an increase in West Nile virus cases.
Thus far this year, there's been 9 confirmed cases in Kern County. Just in the past 2 weeks, we've had 5 confirmed cases.
Terry Knight told us that mosquitoes are breeding closer to our homes than people might think.
These little ankle biters, they are breeding just in our front yards and backyards because they're container breeders. Green swimming pools, impact, mosquito numbers probably within our city, more so than anything.
He also added what he says is the best tactic to keep mosquitoes away from you over the next few weeks.
The best thing that I can say is get you some insect repellent, okay? It's the best way to keep them away from you. Just remember, as that sun sets, that's when mosquitoes become active.
And meteorologist Andrew Buck Michael answers viewer questions on Facebook. It's a segment he calls Weather Bucket. Let's head to...
What's up, everyone? Andrew Buck Michael back with another round of your Weather Bucket questions, and we will be switching more to a fall-winter mode in the next rounds. So just go to my Facebook page, look for this post, and we're going to be doing more fall and winter questions coming up next time. But this question is a great one. It takes a little bit of time. Amber asking, how does barometric pressure affect the weather? It's a great question because it impacts our weather day to day around the world. High pressure is dense air sinking. Low pressure is not nearly as dense air, and it's rising. You get the clouds to form with low pressure. High pressure squishes down all the clouds and clears them out for beautiful blue sky days. So at the surface, when the high pressure is pushing down, low pressure is going up, you get winds. It's called pressure gradient force, and that's how we get our breeze down here at the surface. The other thing to note, if high pressure is parked right over top of you, typically you have very light or calm winds as that dense air is just kind of falling down and trying to fan out around you. So if you have a really beautiful blue sky day, you can think that high pressure parked right overhead. Again, we're going to switch this up and start doing more fall winter questions coming up in the next round. So be sure to check out my Facebook page for this post to add your questions to the next round of the Weather Bucket questions.
Well, sometimes rain can be picked up by weather radar, but when you step outside, no rain is actually falling. It's a weather phenomenon called virga. Meteorologist Sharon Ray explains how it happens.
What is virga? Well, that's precipitation that's falling from the clouds but never gets to the ground. It dries up. Many days we can have different layers of the atmosphere that have different amounts of moisture. And although there may be clouds that are producing some rain or snow, as that precipitation is falling, it all depends on how much water vapor and how moist the atmosphere is below that. If the air is really dry, and in some cases, especially from 10,000 feet lower, if the air is very very dry, as that precipitation is falling, it can evaporate. So it may start to come down from the sky, but then evaporate before it actually hits the surface. And we call that virga. And you'll often see that in the form of these streaks that come down from the clouds. So as it dries up, we don't see it, but we do see it aloft. Now, if the rain is heavy enough, it can overcome that dry air sometime and actually cause it to moisten. But in a lot of cases, it doesn't. And we just get maybe some sprinkles or nothing from it. Why, though, do we start to see rain on radar sometimes when it's not raining? Well, that's because the radar beam and the curvature of the Earth, from a distance, the radar beam and the curvature of the Earth is picking up the precipitation aloft, but it's drying before it hits the ground.
And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over New York City.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. Midwest still staying pretty quiet as we go through the next several days. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Got a little bit of rain up in the North Dakota area today, but as we continue on into the next few days, most of that rain stays to the far north there, and we just continue to heat up with high temperatures in the 80s and 90s for most of the Midwest for Friday, and not much rain still for Saturday unless you're out there in the Dakotas or Nebraska.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. It's really nice this morning. Look at these fall temperatures all the way across from Amarillo to Dallas down to Midland, but things are a little humid and a little wet down toward Brownsville, coming in at about 79. We won't see a whole lot of pattern change today, but we will see scattered to hit and miss showers down toward the southern portion of Texas. Otherwise, it's going to be another warm but manageable day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Thursday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell, and out west, beautiful September sunshine again for many communities, including Seattle at 72 and Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, highs back into the 80s there. San Francisco and the rest of the west coast of California clearing out nicely today into the 70s. We will have an ongoing threat for thunderstorms pushing past Reno and towards Salt Lake City later on today. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
And today marks 24 years since the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. In honor of that day, we share with you views of Flight 93 Memorial, the New York City 9/11 Memorial, and also the Pentagon. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.